Good morning, everyone. First of all, let me apologize you for the delay in uploading the video. Uh, so today we are going to talk about the topic definition and categories of disability as per national laws, which is 1.3 of chapter 1. So let me first get into what disability is, or let's rewind to what we learned about disability. Disability actually affects the body part, and it can actually affect day-to-day living of a person. So it is mainly as per the ICF, or which we have learned before. It actually affects the three main things. One is the body function, second is the activity, and third is the participation. So these are the three factors which we classify or identify a child being different from others. Disabilities are of different ways. No disability is unique. Suppose if you say a child with hearing impairment, you are taking addition as a maths concept to a child with hearing impairment. It is not necessary that the teaching strategy you use for one child may be the same for the other. So each child has its own type, its own variations, its own all the things. It is said that all the child with determination or the child with the disabilities is unique in all its aspects. And it's not necessary that all the disabilities are, you can see them or you can feel them or you can uh, see them as you identify it as soon as you see a person. There are certain disabilities which is said to be the hidden disability, which we can find if and only if we work hand in hand with the child. And these disabilities are mainly affects 9 concepts of a child. It is mainly the vision, hearing, thinking, learning, movement, mental health, remembering, communicating, and social relationship. Out of these 9 factors, the child will be having difficulty in any of the few factors due to which we categorize a student, or we keep them or give them a special training based on that. And this categorization was initially found out by ICF, and it's an international classification of functioning disability and health, as you all know. So it was found on the World Health Assembly on May 22nd, 2001, and was approved, sorry, and it was approved as an international classification of functioning disability. Uh, Based on all the three factors which we were talking all these time. Initially it was 7, and then it was later changed to 14. So the World Health Organization, based on the activity limitation and on the functional limitation, how well the child can function as a normal human being, or in a normal setup or in a normal classroom, how well the child is able to do that. And next is the environmental factors. It is not us, but the environment which helps the child. And next is the participation restriction. So this is mainly classified into 3 basic factors. One is body function and structure. Second is how well the severity of the things is, and how exactly the environmental factors and additional in added to that. And third is the activity and participation. So let me go a small deviating to this topic. When you identify a child, it is actually these 3 factors which helps us in identifying a student with disability. So how well the body function and the structure is, and what are the additional information with respect to the severity, and what is the environmental factors in which setup the child is living, what has happened. Suppose for a behavioral issue case, it is always the environmental factors that we check on to, rather than we going with the severity. We talk to the parents, we talk to the teacher, we understand what exactly the environmental factor the child is going through. So we have to check into that. Next is the activity. So you will have to observe the child inside the classroom, in the playground, in the music classroom, in the maths classroom. So how well the activity and the participation of the child is. So if you have a child with intellectual disability, or suppose a child with specific learning disability, so we check the body function and structure, which is of course will be perfect. And next is the severity and the environmental factors. We talk to the parents, we talk to the teachers, we talk to maximum number of people to understand what exactly is the environmental setup the child is living in with. And the third is the activity and participation. So we go and check in each and every classroom and see how exactly the child performed, because the child level of participation in activity in science class need not be the same in maths class. So it differs from classes to classes, differs from person to person. We'll check where exactly the child is having the disability. So once we analyze all these three factors, we will be able to understand where the identification of the child is needed, or where exactly we need help, or we need to help the child in progressing with their day-to-day life. Coming back to the topic, so there are mainly 14 categories of students with disabilities. As I've listed here, it is intellectual disability, deaf blindness, specific learning disability, deafness, developmental delay, emotional disturb, speech language impairment, traumatic brain injury, orthopedic impairment, visual impairment, multiple disabilities, hearing impairment, autism, and other health impairment. Even though I'm not going to tell everything in detail about all these 14 categories, right now I'm just going to give you a gist or a small, quick understanding of what these disabilities are, and a few of how it comes up, a very few portion of it. On the later classes or on the upcoming classes, we will be talking about all these 14 categories in detail so that you get to know better about each classification. So, first about intellectual disability. First, let's talk about intellectual disability, which is initially on the beforehand days now named as mental retardation. So, intellectual disability (ID) is significantly a sub-average intellectual functioning present from child's birth to early infancy, which causes limitations in the ability to conduct activities in our daily living. Uh, Basically, when we assess a child or when we tell a child, we basically, in terms of academics or in terms of performance with respect to the other kids, when we compare or when we, because each child, it is actually in our psychology, it is said that each child is levels a level of benchmark or attains a level of benchmark in each stages of life. So based on that substandard or based on that standard which we have created, we categorize the child with the various IQ levels. So a child with a 100 is considered to be medium IQ or an average child, and definitely a child which comes into below 70 is considered having a child with mental retardation or intellectual disability. I'm sorry to use that term, but it's an old practice. I'm really sorry for that. So it actually affects the daily living of the child, the self care of the child, the communication level, and the socialization level. So it is actually the child's processing is more slow, and he or she finds the communication and the daily living to be a very big hurdle to go through. They will be finding very difficulty to understand the concept like money, time, because they find it very difficult to abstract a concept, understand a concept. So that's what the intellectual disability comes into. And intellectual disability can be a genetic or as a result of that interferences in the brain development. So mothers are said to be the first teachers of identifying a student with disability or a child with disability. Yes, of course, if the parent is not able to notice it or couldn't understand it, they can be easily identified within preschool. So, how we can identify them? It is mainly due to the formal assessing, and yes, it has to be conducted by a recognized psychologist who can conduct all these tests. Not every person can does it. Yes, the second person can who can do that is a special educator. Even though they may or may not have an assist or proper tool, but they are the first one who can help you or who can guide you if you haven't identified your child. So a basic initial assessment can be conducted by the special educator, but yes, when we make it as a documentation or when we make it as authentic, we need the help of a proper psychologist. So for a intellectually disabled child, mainly three factors are being affected. One is the conceptual area, second is the social area, and the third is the practical area. So the child finds difficulty in all these three areas. When you say about the conceptual area, it is more about the competence in memory, reading, writing, and math. So if the child finds difficulty in maybe any of these, or maybe one of this, or multiple of this. So that depends from child to child. Next is the social area. The child finds awareness of thoughts and feelings, interpersonal skills, and social judgment. So the child finds to understand the people, to tell them. See, like we have told, it's been told in My Name is Khan movie. When you people say that it is my home, the child doesn't understand because the child definitely knows that it's not their home. So the child cannot understand all these interpersonal skills, or the social judgment itself is very poor within the child, or find it very difficult for the child. Next is the practical area, like the personal care, task organization, money management skill, health and safety of the child. All these is being questioned, and all these are a bigger hurdle for the child.